Hello! We have 3 stories, and I'm so excited for TIFU again. Our first story came out just before a recent controversy that went viral, where an influencer filmed and shamed a guy at the gym for not doing much more than existing? I guess for attention? Who knows? Well, actually, this guy might in story 1. I have just recently arrived home following this mess up. I, a very happily married 36-year-old male with a small herd of children, have been going to the gym in my little town since November 2022. I always go after getting the kids to bed, which generally puts me there around 8:30 p.m. The gym I go to has 2 rooms. One has cardio equipment, ellipticals, treadmills, bikes, etc. The other room has free weights and various other torture devices. My routine begins the same every time with 9.1 to 9.5 miles on the bike, which leaves me in a state similar to that of a walrus that has just managed to pull himself onto an iceberg, very wet and breathing heavy. This process takes me to about 8:55 p.m. I enjoy hitting weights at this time because the gym is often, not always, empty, and it leaves me to grunt and groan in peace. Tonight, the gym was not empty when I entered the weight room. Now, I mentioned that I have been going to the gym since early November. In that time, I have gotten used to the people that do spend time in the gym past 9, and this person was new. Not a big deal. She had brought her own yoga mat. The ones in the gym are blue and red, and this one was tie-dye-ish. And she had her phone set up on a stand. I assumed she was making a video. Both of these observations were made as I walked down to my trusty bench to start my bent-over rows. I grabbed my dumbbells and sat down to continue my ritual and TIFU. I always remove my wedding ring before I lift and tuck it in my right sock for safekeeping. If I try to wear it, it digs into my hand and makes things most unpleasant. So I start grunting out reps with old righty and just nicely switch to lefty when I feel a tap on my shoulder. So I stopped what I was doing and turned to see new girl standing behindish me sporting a menacing glare and wielding her iPhone. I popped out my earbud and asked what was up. The following conversation is as I remember it. Hey, what's up? You're disgusting. Excuse me? You saw me in here and took off your ring, planning on chatting me up? This is a little paraphrased. She swore a little too, and I wasn't taking perfect notes. What? You're gross. Okay. I proceeded to put my earbuds back in and get to work while she stormed to the other side of the gym and started packing up her stuff. I watched her head for the exit while I was resting between sets. Anyway, I'm rowing away, and out of nowhere, I'm blasted with a cascade of liquid which leads me to drop my dumbbell and spin around to see what's going on. There's new girl with her recently emptied pink Yeti screaming at me. I'm assuming for being gross, it was unclear as I had my buds in still. I remove my earbuds so I can understand her, and she storms away. I think the highlight of the exchange is that my gym shirt now smells like vodka. Gosh. Do most people drink at the gym? Am I doing this wrong? I'm home, showered, and explained why my shirt smells like I've had a raging party to my wife. We've both had a good laugh. If I see New Girl's video on social media, I'll be sure to share it here. I don't know who she was, but it's a pretty small town, so it might pop up. Cheers! Update. Well, this got a lot of attention. So I had emailed the gym owner last night at the request of my wife. She feels the same as many of you that this lady could be dangerous to others. He has already emailed back. Apparently, New Girl received a ban early 2022 for aggressive behavior with another gym patron. Owner is going to call me later today for some follow-up. I will definitely look into the silicone rings. Thanks, everybody. Final update. I had initially planned on responding to a bunch of the comments, but there are just so many. Anyway, New Girl's previous aggression was verbal. The gym owner has deactivated her key fob and placed her on permaban. He has also called a few of the smaller gyms in the area to give them a heads up. Super cool dude. Thanks everybody for the thoughts and advice. I know I've let a bunch of you down by not pressing charges, etc. But I also know I have made many of you proud by completing my cardio after lifting tonight. Before I left for the gym tonight, my wife recommended a raincoat for protection. She's the best. That's all for now, unless the video surfaces. Cheers! In the comments, Just Eric said, "You were clearly trying to chat her up." Checks notes. Completely ignoring her and going about your business until she got all up in your face. You're not fooling anyone, pal. Maniac Dan said, "You're forgetting. The universe revolves around her. All actions are related to her. That's why she's the one allowed to set up cameras to record people working out." Carlos Fur added, "She has main character syndrome." Eternal Ankh said, "Influencers." Shaking my head. OP, credit to you for maintaining your cool when she emptied her water bottle on you. I think I'd lose it. I mean, I'm surprised she peeled herself away from the mirror at home. Is it just me, or does it seem like this level of deranged narcissism is becoming more common? It's scary. Our second story is part one of two, featuring a man who goes a bit too Rambo on a work team building outing only to realize the target of his wrath was his boss all along in story two. This happened a few days ago. Went paintballing with my office colleagues as an end of year celebration. In a game, I ran to the edge of the arena, hoping to flank the other team. Two people on the other team had the same idea, and we found ourselves in a standoff behind some wooden cover. I shot the first person quickly, and they called their hit and went away. It was then between me and one other guy. I am going to call him Dave. Instead of wearing a full helmet, Dave wore only a mask which left the rear and top side of his head uncovered. Unluckily for him, the top of his head was visible to me through a slit in his wooden cover. I considered for a moment what to do. Do I shoot him in the head and cause immense pain and agony? Do I wait for a shot against a more protected part of his body? In the end, I thought I only need to shoot him once for him and I to be on our way. And by wearing a mask and not a helmet, he full well knew what could happen. So I steadied my aim and shot him through the gap in the wood, clean onto the top of his head. I heard a scream. "Ah, you bastard!" But he didn't call the hit. He didn't even move from his position. So I shouted, "Call your hit!" But he didn't respond. I am sure he heard me because I saw his head turn slightly when I spoke, but he didn't call his hit. So I shot him again, and again, and again, in the exact same spot on the top of his head. With each shot, he let out a grunt, but did not call his hit. It was kind of satisfying, actually, seeing the paintballs explode on the top of his head. At this point, his head is a yellow-red paintballing mess, but yet he still does not call his hit. Eventually, a marshal comes nearby, and I tell him that he does not call his hit, but as you can see, he is covered in paint. The marshal tells me to shoot him once more to see it for himself. So, right through that slit in the wood, I shoot him in the exact same spot on the top of his head. He doesn't call his hit, and the marshal pulls him out and escorts him away. I then see him after the game, crying his eyes out, holding a bag of frozen peas against his head, walking toward the car park. Turns out it was my line manager, my boss, and I'm not sure whether to tell him it was me that shot him after the Christmas holidays. Edit. To those of you worried that I did serious damage to him, he is mostly fine, I think. He has a sore head and was quite embarrassed from crying in front of his staff. It was your basic rent to the public paintball gun that did not possess any real dangerous power behind it. Though getting shot in the exact same spot over and over probably increased the pain quite a bit. Now, some have said he will recognize my voice. I didn't think about that. Fudge nuts. I am sure my voice from within a paintball helmet at a distance from behind some cover was heard, but probably not super recognizable given the circumstances. I don't think he really got a good look at me either, so I think I am in the clear. To be sure, I just checked my calendar for the coming work week and can see my boss has scheduled a meeting for everyone that attended the paintball event. Depending on how that goes, I may post a further update in the near future. In the comments, Polite Canadian said, "Don't tell anyone, ever. Except millions of us, of course." Cece said, "It's better for the both of you if he doesn't find out." OP replied, "I agree. I need to practice my, 'Oh my god, I can't believe that happened' face if he brings it up at the next meeting." Bone Man said, "I really like how the ref was like, one more time to prove it. Dude already had paint all over his head. The ref just wanted to see his pain." OP, gotta say, I'm impressed with your aim. I'd be disappointed that my boss is such a sore loser, though. Not sure you can really respond with that if he calls you out for treating his head like a target, though. So awkward. Can't wait for the update. And thankfully, here it is. We get to find out what happened at the meeting in Story 3. Update. Almost 2 weeks ago, I repeatedly shot my boss in the head at a paintball event with some colleagues from work. Last week, I noticed my boss scheduled a meeting for everyone that went paintballing that day. Today was that meeting. I was anxious all day and barely got any work done. I kept reading comments back to myself about how he is going to recognize my voice, or that he had a mental breakdown of some kind, and that I irresponsibly failed to notice before shooting another 4 paintballs straight at his head. It didn't help that people in the office were talking about how our line manager cried at paintballing. All I added to the conversation were lines like, "Oh, yeah, I saw that after the game. What happened?" And, "Wow, that's crazy." It became clear that nobody really knew what happened. Most people thought he fell and banged his head really bad or something. Everyone knew he cried, even people that didn't go paintballing, but nobody actually knew what happened. Only I knew he didn't hit his head. He just took the same shot over and over to the exact same spot. He didn't call his hit and then cried afterwards. That's all that happened. Once we were sat and settled in the conference room, the boss made it clear that he didn't want anyone in the office discussing out of work activities during work hours. Word must have gotten around that his crying was a topic of conversation. He said he is fine, nothing serious, and then said something that took every inch of my composure not to react. I don't know if I can quote him word for word, but he said something like this: "I raised my hand and was running back to base, and that's when I slipped in the mud and hit my head against a barrel." When he said those words, I felt like it was a Mexican standoff. He glanced around the room, looking for a reaction, but I didn't give him one. Internally, though, I was like, what in the actual frack are you on about? I literally watched the paintballs one by one splat off the top of your head over and over before you got walked out of the game by a marshal. Also, it was the top of your head that was sore. Now, unless you dive like a dolphin into that barrel head first, I don't see how that would be the part of your body that got injured if you actually slipped and hit something. Externally, though, my face tried to mirror the rest of the room and was a mixture of compassion and surprise. Shout out to all of you that commented that I should practice the shocked Pikachu face. That was literally what I went for. He still doesn't know who did it. Everyone else believes his story. I'm not sure whether I should let it go or call him out on it. Edit. My boss has sent out a late work email informing our team he will be taking the rest of the week off to recover a little more. In response, my colleagues in our group chat have decided that we'd pool some money together to buy him a get well soon gift and treat him to a lunch next week when he is back. In the comments, Arlen Diluthal said, "Let him save face. Be glad you're getting away with it." He the Tortoise added, "Yeah, it sounds like he was trying to bait someone into admitting they did it." Gold Inquisitor said, "Boss makes $1. I make a dime. That's why I shoot him repeatedly in the head with paintballs until he cries on company time." Stukisha said, "It's a safe bet OP will not let it go, despite getting away with it. OP will eventually tell a coworker, or 3, maybe go the route of questioning the head injury. I'm just saying that injury looks like a bunch of paintballs splatted his dome." Jack and Dax added, next week's post, "TIFU by not letting it go." OP, you have to let it go. Not doing so is a career-limiting move, and it is not worth it. This sucks, and it's painful, I know, but no good will come from exposing your boss for the cheater that he was, repeatedly. It sounds like you got some serious satisfaction from the hits. No judgment here, but not my jam. However, that satisfaction is all you're gonna get here, so hold on to that. If you've enjoyed the story and would like to hear more, consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. Thanks, and bye for now.